I'm back, Obama, and I'm back because of your arrogant foreign policy towards the Islamic State, because of your insistence in continuing your bombings in Al-Merli, Zumar and the Mosul Dam, despite our serious warnings. You, Obama, have yet again, through your actions, killed yet another American citizen. So just as your missiles continue to strike our people, our knife will continue to strike the necks of your people.
Whatever these murderers think they'll achieve by killing innocent Americans like Stephen, they have already failed.
When people harm Americans, we don't retreat. We don't forget. We take care of those who are grieving, and when that's finished, they should know we will follow them to the gates of hell until they are brought to justice, because hell is where they will reside.
Well, we heard first the chilling message from the executioner of Stephen Sutloff. In English, he's believed to be a British national. Then we heard President Obama and Vice President Biden addressing this disturbing situation with ISIS. But the response from our president, as opposed to that of our vice president, seemed to point up some inconsistencies. And here to provide some insight and opinion on the contrasting reactions, we call on Ben Wikler, the Washington director for MoveOn.org and host of The Good Fight, and also here for the discussion, Sarah Isgur Flores, the deputy communications director of the Republican National Committee. We thank you both for Skyping in. And Sarah, ladies first. I outlined and we heard just portions of what seems to be a stark contrast in response to ISIS from the president and the vice president. When you hear the differing approaches, what thoughts do you have?
That our response from this administration has been fumbled from the beginning. Remember, this is the same president who referred to ISIL as the JV team. Then last week he told us we had no strategy. One thing after another, and you can see why his approval numbers, even among staunch Democrats, are in free fall right now.
Ben, the ISIS executioner called out President Obama by name, and it is true that at the outset of his statement in Estonia, he seemed to be unequivocal, but then answering questions, he said that we had to make ISIS, quote, a manageable problem. But Vice President Biden really stepped up with a passionate statement about following ISIS to the gates of hell because that's where they're going to reside. Now, as you look at the contrast in messages, what is your take on it?
Well, there's no question that there's no daylight between President Obama, between Vice President Biden, and now with our allies in the UK and the coalition we're building around the world. The objective is to degrade and destroy ISIS, or ISIL. That's the thing that makes them manageable if they are not a threat to the United States or to anyone else. Regardless of the comments, which have been a challenge to follow, we know the president's policy by the United States' actions. The United States is building international support. It supported the Kurds in stopping ISIS's incursion into northern Iraq. It is working now with a government in Iraq that can actually be a partner, because ultimately the Iraqi government needs to be able to control ISIL's threat. These are actual concrete actions that the United States is pursuing. And the one thing that is crucial in all of this is not giving the terrorists what they want. When a terrorist goes on YouTube and issues a direct challenge to the president of the United States, if the president responds in kind, that is lifting the terrorists up to the president's level. What terrorists want to do is provoke terror. They want to provoke overreaction and hysteria. And I think the president maintaining a cool head as he pursues a policy that will destroy this threat is exactly the right move.
Ben, I know you know my resume, and I really don't mean this as a political pot shot. I really want to have some insight from someone who obviously is left of center and who has looked at this president closely. Why does it seem that when it comes to domestic policy or items of, quote, social justice involving Americans and, well, non-Americans, quite frankly, this president speaks so resolutely and yet overseas in forums like yesterday in Estonia, his prepared statement is definitive, but in answering questions he seems, well, he is much more tentative. Why is that?
You know, the president, when he looks around the world, I don't think he sees the world the same way that President George W. Bush saw it. I don't think he sees in every instance a stark picture of black and white. I think he sees the complexities. Now, it is completely clear that ISIS is evil and that ISIS needs to be fought and stopped. But the president knows that doing that requires building a coalition, having a partner in the Iraqi government, all of these different things. If you look at the president's actions, he has overseen the killing of more terrorist leaders than any United States president in history. The strike against al-Shabaab just now in Somalia, the devastation of al-Qaeda's leadership, and now the work he's doing to fight ISIS in Iraq. But rhetorically, his approach to the world is to speak to the complexity of the situations that the United States faces. That's been a hallmark of the way he's talked about the world throughout his political career. And I think that reflects, his attempt to get things right, even if it doesn't make the same kind of stirring, clear, slogans and rhetoric that makes us all cheer.
Sarah, as Ben was offering the explanation there, and he talked about being a bit more cautious overseas, I couldn't help but remember the foreign campaign stops that candidate Obama made in 2008, where he didn't seem to be tentative at all about taking hope and change internationally. Is it the burdens of the office, and is it fair for Ben to say, well, he's different from George W. Bush, who doesn't see the world in black and white terms?
I think that's the disappointment that Americans are feeling right now. We were promised leadership. We were promised a vision for America's place in the world. And instead, I guess I'm glad Ben knows what the president has been trying to say, because in a single statement he made yesterday, I thought he expressed 3 different policies. We've gotten muddled messages, and that means the world is getting muddled messages. We need courage, we need vision, and I don't think we've been getting that while the world is looking to us for that type of leadership. I think that's the disappointment we're seeing.
Let's turn to domestic politics. The Democrat National Committee Chairwoman, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Shultz, weighed in yesterday about Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker and women. Here's what she said, quote, "Scott Walker has given women the back of his hand. I know that is stark. I know that is direct, but that is reality." She goes on to say, quote, "What Republican Tea Party extremists like Scott Walker are doing is they are grabbing us by the hair and pulling us back. It is not going to happen on our watch." Ben, that's not rhetorical overkill. She's actually comparing Scott Walker and Tea Party members to those who abuse women physically. Are you going to defend those remarks?
Well, I'm going to say that Congresswoman Wasserman Shultz is very angry about what she's seeing from Scott Walker and from the Republican Party nationally. What she's referring to with Scott Walker is his signing of the repeal of the Equal Pay Enforcement Act. And when you don't enforce equal pay, you don't get equal pay. That's moving backwards. That's what she's talking about. And nationally, she's, I think, speaking to the opposition that lasted so long against the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act. This is something that Democrats were supporting, and we thought would be a natural bipartisan issue, that it would be reauthorized, but instead it was delayed and delayed and delayed by the Tea Party wing of the Republican Party. The Violence Against Women Act is something that all of us should support from the get-go.
So, Sarah, do you agree with Debbie Wasserman Shultz's view that because of VAWA's non-renewal or the delay in that somehow Republicans and Scott Walker are engaged in a form of domestic violence against women?
When I saw that video, I was shocked. I mean, it is so disrespectful. It is so offensive. I think she owes an apology to victims of domestic abuse. This idea that she was talking about VAWA is a completely ex post explanation that they've come up with after so that they don't have to apologize. As someone who has stood in court next to a friend who was confronting her attacker, I can't imagine using this as a political punchline. It was so beyond the pale.
We'll have to leave it right there. Sarah Isgur Flores in Washington. Ben Wikler, likewise in Washington, from the left and the right. We appreciate your points of view and look forward to having you back here on America's Forum. Look, red meat is one thing in campaigns. We understand that. But did Debbie Wasserman Shultz cross a line with her characterizations of Scott Walker and Tea Party Republicans? We'd like to get your thoughts. Why don't you tweet me your comments at NewsmaxTV, hashtag America's Forum. You can also go to newsmaxtv.com/comment, and don't forget Facebook. To be specific about Facebook, it's facebook.com/Newsmax. Speaking of faces, you will see ours once again following this timeout.